Hi, Nancy. This is Helen. Are you tied up on a case?
No, what's up? The mystery.
Yes, a haunted house.
Tell me more.
You've heard me speak of my Aunt Rosemary. Since becoming a widow, she has lived with her mother at Twin Elms, the old family mansion out in Cliffwood. Well, I went to see them yesterday. They said that many strange, mysterious things have been happening there recently. I told them how good you are at solving mysteries, and they'd like you to come out to Twin Elms and help them.
It certainly sounds intriguing.
If you're not busy, Aunt Rosemary and I would like to come over in about an hour and talk to you about the ghost.
I can't wait.
I'll answer it.
Is Mr. Drew at home? My name is Gummer, Nathan Gummer.
No, he is not here just now.
Are you Nancy Drew?
Yes, I am. Is there anything I can do for you?
I've come out of the goodness of my heart to warn you and your father.
Warn us? About what?
Your father is in great danger, Miss Drew.
You mean this very minute?
All the time. I understand you're a pretty bright girl, Miss Drew, that you even solve mysteries. Well, right now I advise you to stick close to your father. Don't leave him for a minute.
Let's go sit down and talk this over.
The story in a nutshell is this. You know that your father was brought in to do legal work for the railroad when it was buying property for the new bridge here. Well, a lot of the folks who sold their property think they were tipped.
I understood from my father that everyone was well paid.
That's not true. Besides, the railroad is in a real mess now. One of the property owners, whose deed and signature they claim to have, says that he never signed a contract of sale.
What's his name?
Willie Wharton.
Go on.
I'm acting as agent for Willie Wharton and several of the landowners who were his neighbors, and they can make it pretty tough for the railroad. Willie Wharton's signature was never witnessed and the attached certificate of acknowledgement was not notarized. That's good proof the signature was a forgery. Well, if the railroad thinks they're going to get away with this, they're not.
But all Willie Wharton has to do is swear before a notary that he did sign the contract of sale.
It's not that easy, Miss Drew. Willie Wharton is not available. Some of us have a good idea where he is and will produce him at the right time. But that time won't be until the railroad promises to give the sellers more money. Then he'll sign. You see, Willie is a real kind man and he wants to help his friends out whenever he can. Now he's got a chance.
Who are the people who are apt to harm my father?
I'm not saying who they are. You don't seem very appreciative of my coming here to warn you. Fine kind of a daughter you are. You don't care what happens to your father.
Good day, Mr. Gummer.
Have it your own way, but don't say I didn't warn you.
Well, of all the insulting people.
But that's not the worst of it, Hannah darling. I think there's more to Gummer's warning than he is telling. It seems to me to imply a threat, and he almost has me convinced. Maybe I should stay close to Dad until he and the other loggers have straightened out this railroad tangle. But this would also mean giving up the case I'd been asked to take by Helen. Her Aunt Rosemary thinks the mansion she lives in is haunted. Helen and her aunt will be here in a little while to tell us the whole story.
Oh, maybe things are an apostrophe so serious for your father as that horrible man made out. If you were you listen to the details about the haunted house and then decide what you want to do about the mystery.
Nancy, this is my Aunt Rosemary.
It's good to see you both.
Oh, Nancy, I do hope you can take Aunt Rosemary and Miss Flora's case. That's her mother. Aunt Rosemary is really my great-aunt and Miss Flora is my great-grandmother. From the time she was a little girl everybody has called her Miss Flora.
The name may seem odd to people the first time they hear it, but we are all so used to it, we never think anything about it.
Please tell me more about your house.
Mother and I are almost nervous wrecks. I have urged her to leave Twin Elms, but she won't. You see, Mother has lived there ever since she married my father, Everett Turnbull. We've just started having all kinds of strange happenings occurring during the past couple of weeks. We've heard untraceable music, thumps and creaking noises at night, and sometimes have seen eerie shadows on walls.
Have you notified the police?
Oh, yes. But after talking with my mother, they came to the conclusion that most of what she saw and heard could be explained by natural causes. The rest, they said, probably was imagination on her part. You see, she's over 80 years old, and while I know her mind is sound and alert, I'm afraid that the police don't think so. I had almost talked myself into thinking the ghostly noises could be attributed to natural causes, when something else happened.
What was that?
We were robbed. During the night several pieces of old jewelry were taken. I did telephone the police about this and they came to the house for a description of the pieces. But they still would not admit that a ghost visitor had taken them.
Do the police have any idea who the thief might be?
No. And I'm afraid we might have more burglaries.
Aunt Rosemary hasn't told you half the things that have happened. Once Miss Flora thought she saw someone sliding out of a fireplace at midnight, and another time a chair moved from one side of the room to the other while her back was turned. But no one was there.
How extraordinary. I've often read about such things, but I never thought I'd meet anyone who lived in a haunted house.
You see how much you're needed at Twin Elms. Will you please go out there with me and solve the mystery of the ghost?
Mrs. Rave.
Please call me Aunt Rosemary. All Helen's friends do.
I'd love to. Aunt Rosemary, may I please let you know tonight or tomorrow? I really must speak to my father about the case. And something else came up just this afternoon which may keep me at home for a while at least.
I understand.
Oh, Nancy, you just must come. I'm sure your dad would want you to help us. Can't you postpone the other thing until you get back?
I'm afraid not. I can't tell you all the details, but Dad has been threatened and I feel that I ought to stay close to him. Goodness only knows what they may do to him. Somebody could come up and hit him on the head, or poison his food in a restaurant, or...
It's that bad.
Well, I will talk to Dad when he comes home. I hate to disappoint you, but you can see what a quandary I'm in.
You poor girl. Now don't you worry about us.
I'll worry whether I come or not. Anyway, I'll talk to my dad tonight. Bye, nice meeting you.
I'm sure everything will come out alright for everybody. I'm sorry I talked about those dreadful things that might happen to your father. I let my imagination run away with me, just like they say Miss Flora's does with her.
You're a great comfort, Hannah dear. To tell the truth, I have thought of all kinds of horrible things myself. I wish Dad would get home. He's safe. Oh, Dad, I'm so glad to see you.
What have I done to rate this extra bit of attention? I know. Your date for tonight is off and you want me to substitute.
Oh, Dad, of course my date's not off. But I'm just about to call it off.
Why? Isn't it going to stay on your list?
It's not that. It's because you're in terrible danger. Dad, I've been warned not to leave you.
In terrible danger of what? Are you going to make a raid on my wallet?
Dad, be serious. I really mean what I'm saying. Nathan Gummer was here and told me that you're in great danger and I'd better stay with you at all times.
That best again. There are times when I'd like to thrash the man till he begged for mercy. I will admit that there is a bit of a muddle about the railroad bridge. What happened was that the lawyer who went to get Willie Wharton's signature was very ill at the time. Unfortunately, he failed to have the signature witnessed or have the attached certificate of acknowledgement executed. The poor man passed away a few hours later.
And the other railroad lawyers failed to notice that the signature hadn't been witnessed or the certificate notarized.
Not right away. The matter did not come to light until the man's widow turned his briefcase over to the railroad. The old deed to Wharton's property was there, so the lawyers assumed that the signature on the contract was genuine. The contract for the railroad bridge was awarded and work began. Suddenly Nathan Gummer appeared, saying he represented Willie Wharton and others, who had owned property which the railroad had bought on either side of the Muskoka River.
I understood from Mr. Gummer that Willie Wharton is trying to get more money for his neighbors by holding out for a higher price himself.
That's the story. Personally, I think it's a sharp deal on Gummer's part. The more people he can get money for, the higher his commission.
What a mess. And what can be done?
To tell the truth, there is little anyone can do until Willie Wharton is found. Gombe knows this, of course, and has probably advised Wharton to stay hiding until the railroad agrees to give everybody more money. But I think I'm about to outwit Mr. Nathan Gummer. I've had a tip that Willie Wharton is in Chicago, and I'm leaving Monday morning to find out. I believe that Wharton will say he did sign the contract of sale which the railroad company has, and will readily consent to having the certificate of acknowledgement notarized. Then, of course, the railroad won't pay him, or any of the other property owners, another cent.
But, Dad, you still haven't convinced me you're not in danger.
Nancy dear, I feel that I am not in danger. Gombe is nothing but a blowhard. I doubt that Willie Wharton or any of the other property owners would resort to violence to keep me from working on this case. He's just trying to scare me into persuading the railroad to accede to his demands.
But don't forget that you're about to go to Chicago and produce the very man Gomer and those property owners don't want around here just now.
I know. But I still doubt if anyone would use force to keep me from going. So I won't need you as a bodyguard, Nancy.
All right, Dad, you know best. This afternoon Helen and her Aunt Rosemary came and told me about how strange things have been happening in her home of Twin Elms, and they want me to try to solve the mystery there. If you approve, I'd like to go over there with Helen.
Go by all means, Nancy. I realize you've been itching to work on a new case, and this sounds like a real challenge. But please be careful.
Oh, I will, Dad. Thanks a million.
Tomorrow you will both be off on big adventures. I certainly wish you both success.
Thank you, Hannah. I'd better get a good night's sleep. From now on I may be kept awake by ghosts and strange voices.
I'm a little uneasy about you going to Twin Elms. Please promise me that you'll be careful.
Of course. Pretend I've said the same thing to you about being careful.
You know me, I can be pretty tough when the need arises. I expect to return on Wednesday. Nancy, suppose I stop off at Cliffwood and see how you're making out.
Wonderful, Dad. I'll be looking for you.
I ought to be scared. Goodness only knows what's ahead of us. But right now I'm so happy nothing could upset me.
What happened? Did you inherit $1 million?
Something better than that. Nancy, I want to tell you a big secret. I'm going to be married.
Why, Helen, how wonderful. Who is he? And tell me all about it. This is rather sudden, isn't it?
Yes, it is. His name is Jim Archer and he's simply out of this world. I'm a pretty lucky girl. I met him a couple of months ago when he was home on a short vacation. He works for the Tri-Star Oil Company and has spent 2 years abroad. Jim will be away for a while longer, and then be given a position here in the States.
Helen Corning, have you been engaged for 2 months and didn't tell me?
No, Jim and I have been corresponding ever since he left. Last night he telephoned from overseas and asked me to marry him. I said yes in a big hurry. Then he asked to speak to Dad. My father gave his consent but insisted that our engagement not be announced until Jim's return to this country.